What is going on, everybody? Sam Aker here, coming live. It's only second time I've done this, so bear with me on the technical aspects of it. But I see some people are already joining, so I'll get started pretty soon. So basically, what I'm going to do today is this is totally impromptu, by the way. I have read all this stuff ahead of time, but took some notes, but I haven't really come back to it since I read it and watched this morning. So I just want to casual chat about a lot of this stuff. I don't have a huge agenda other than to go through the PR. We have a YouTube video to go through, which I will basically watch through with you guys. I didn't do that last time just because it was like an hour long. This one's a lot shorter and I can skip through some stuff. But that's kind of the plan for this. At any point, drop some stuff in the chat. I don't know if anyone's actually even on the stream right now, but it wants to chat. But if you want to chat, just drop something in the old chat menu off to the side. I can obviously go on tangents. Also, I don't know if there's any side noise going on right now, but it is unbelievably hot where I am right now. I don't know where it's like where you guys are, but it is like, feels like 105 or something, and I am on the second floor, and our AC is not very good. So I have a couple fans going in here. I tested it beforehand, and I don't think it looked too bad, but I don't know if it's affecting the audio at all, but that's the plan. I'll probably get started here in a sec, and we can see. Let's see here. Oh yeah, first off, as I get started, how about the share price today? Wow, right? That was crazy. And let me actually bring up my. Here we go. Unbelievable. I actually didn't realize this. Oh, I'm good on audio. Cool. Thank you. 103 in St. Louis. Okay. Not the only one. I don't know if you can see the sweat on my face, but I feel like it's starting. Yeah, the share price was pretty crazy today. I mean, 43% off of that news. I mean, I don't know if that brought my my loss down below 90% right now, but I'm sure a lot of us are in the same boat. What was I just gonna? I was just gonna say something. Now I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was fun. I think for everyone. I didn't think the news was actually too spectacular, all in all, but I think it was good progress. I mean, we'll get into it, but I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. Let's see here. I was gonna mention something else too. I don't know. I don't have a real strict agenda today, guys. Maybe let's run through the PR. That was sort of what I was wanting. I was gonna start off with the PR just because I think they hit a lot of the points, and then maybe we can just run through the YouTube video. Shout out OTC Forever and Andrew Price. I don't know how you pronounce your name. Sorry. I'm not a very bright person. So let's see here. I think this is the PR. Nope. Oh, I clicked out of it, didn't I? Here we go. All right. Let's roll through this. I keep looking. Here we go. Corporate update. Plumco. Price. Okay, price. Got it. Sorry about that. Plumco completed 14 EVSE projects in LA County in 2023 year to date, with additional 4 projects currently under construction. Okay, sorry, give me one sec. I forgot to close out of Steam. Un momento. Now you guys won't see all my Steam notifications. Really need to turn those off. You'd be surprised how many times in videos I've recorded something and like someone's like messaged me or something like while I'm recording because I'm too stupid to like change the notification settings. All right, anyway, Plumco completed 14 projects in LA County. That's good. No dollar figures around this, which is a little hard to tell. I mean, a project could range from a lot of different things, right? So I don't know. They talk about it a bit more in the video, so I'll move on from this. This was big though. Completed the design and engineering phase of Callaway Farms project with construction expected to begin in the second half of 2023. We're already 2 months into the second half of 2023. So I guess they mean in the next 4 months. I would assume near the end of the year. It's in a warm part of America, so I assume it being done late in the year in the winter doesn't really matter. But I don't live in the Southwest, nor have I ever, so someone can tell me if that's stupid, but that's good. I don't think they talked about this at all on the shareholder update. I think that was actually a big complaint a lot of people had, is they didn't talk about the commercial pipeline. So this was probably as close as we got to the commercial pipeline, which had 0 revenue. If you watched my other video or read the filing, you would know. So that's good. They're moving along, I guess. We didn't really get much else than that. SIRC shared services, financial services and supplemental claims revenue increased 32% in the second quarter compared to same prior year quarter, so Q2 2022. Balance more than double the number of net new revenue producing clients. Well, that's a mouthful. From the first quarter of 2023, and achieved a net profit margin of over 26% in the first half of fiscal year 2023. So this is what I wanted to see with the quarterly filing, and I have that open because I'm still a little confused how they segment out did I blow right past it? I think I did. The corporate function of SIRC, because they group it in with balance. I didn't go past it, did I? Yes, I did. Where is it? Anyway, they group it in with all their corporate stuff. And what I was curious was, it's right here, my God. Normally when you get other companies that do this, their corporate piece is this is supplemental, by the way. I think this is where it is. The corporate piece is not in like a revenue generating operation. It's just like you just allocate the costs across all of your divisions. And I wasn't sure if the margins in here were getting weighed down by just random crap in their corporate costs, but no, this looks pretty good. I think this is sort of roughly what they were saying, right? 909 revenue, 179 supplemental, right? Which is pretty close to 26% margin. So maybe the costs for people like the C-suite aren't actually in supplemental. They're in like one of these divisions here, which I don't know. I'm probably just splitting hairs talking about all this stuff, but these are the kinds of things I think about, and I think what you should think about as an investor. So balance is cool, right? I've kind of given it what is it? I've given it some stick in the past, just because I've always thought it was kind of like you didn't really see much out of it, and it was a lot of talk and kind of a small business. But I mean, they're most profitable by margin thing they're doing right now, and it's growing. So who knows? This might be the good base the company needs, right? So that's that. And they executed the binding LOC. Okay. Yeah, they reaffirmed October 30. I keep saying October 31st. I wonder why they picked October 30. This is, again, I'm only going to talk about this stuff because this is live. Why not 31st? Is it a weekend or something? What's the deal there? I'll bring this up off to the side. Nope. Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird. So anyway, it's a Tuesday. Huh. What do you know? Anyway, OTC Forever, does the increase in the authorized share count make you nervous? Nervous? Probably no. I think it makes sense. Actually, can I hold on that one until the discussion on it in the video? I have a good point on this, and they explain it a bit. We're continuing to execute across our core corporate initiatives while maintaining blah blah blah. Demand for EV charging stations, renewable energy solutions continue to be okay. Yeah, EV charging is going to be big. The question is, this is like when people bring up things like EV charging or these new things that where it was like there was none of it, and then like it's going to be everywhere on like within a couple years, you know. I think back to, and this is probably a bad a bad example, but like, do you guys remember like in, I don't know, maybe like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, like as pot started to get legalized, like first it was legal in Canada federally, and then I think it's legal in Canada federally, and then like it starts getting rolled out in a bunch of states in America, and like I feel like people thought that pot was going to be like this holy grail of money making and making like tons of money, and then like I don't know, at least around me, everywhere that I've lived, all the places that sell pot and grow pot make like no money. It's just like it's like hippies who love marijuana but they don't really care about making money. It's kind of like people who start restaurants, like all of them fail because people really want to do it. And so you sort of get that like inherent like competitive like competition across like all of them, and it's so difficult. I feel like that's I worry about EV. Like I don't think it's quite as simple as like they need to install like 1 million EV chargers in California, like, but how many other people are going to come swooping in and do it better than them? I don't know. That's where I get a little hesitant on Plumco, like that's going to be like this crazy amazing thing. But I think but they also have to try, right? You can't just like, the whole point is that the demand is there and you have to supply it somehow. Someone has to. So it could be them. I don't know, but I'm not like expecting it to be. They're not going to like, if they need 1 million chargers in LA County or whatever, like he said, it's probably even more. They're not going to install like 500,000 of them or something. It's definitely not going to be that much. Or if it is, we're all going to be rich. So think of it. That's how I think of it. So where was I? Blah, blah, blah. As we approach being cash flow positive. So again, reading between lines here, which is what I do. They are not cash flow positive yet. They talk about it on the shareholder update. I'll go on a quick tangent here. What I consider to be cash flow positive for them is it's a little bit of a weird formula. I think this is the Sam Aker unapproved or approved, I don't know what you want to call it, unapproved by lots of other people, but it's kind of what I like to look at. For sustainable positive cash flow, you need to have basically, it's basically like EBITDA plus stock comp maybe, and all of your debt service payments, so principal and interest, including, and you can, and you have to factor in non-cash items as well. I think personally, that's probably the best method. I think a very good method, at least. Another one it's very similar is just cash flow from operations, and then take out net working capital. So your changes in AR, AP, whatever. That's pretty good too. A little more sustainable, right? Doesn't factor into account principal repayments though. So there's a lot of different ways you can cut it. It's a little hard with them because they're sort of in this weird rocky place. It's not like a nice stable thing where, a lot of the one-time things sort of flow through and don't really matter, but for them it does. So those are kind of the ways I look at it. We'll get to that though. So they also keep talking about Tribeca. Our agreement with Tribeca Energy remains on track. Okay, good. We're working closely with Tribeca team to prepare SIRC for a seamless integration as a core component of a vertically integrated enterprise that will focus on decarbonizing the global energy grid. Okay, they've said that before. Again, I've talked about this before, and I saw some people were talking about this again today, but this part of the sentence here is kind of key. Everyone's always like, why do they bother buying SIRC? Like, what's the point? Because let's be honest, it's has some problems, a lot of debt, they're cleaning it up, but it's not exactly like a gem of a company right now. Let's be honest. The whole point is that, the company's like a bit has its issues, but there's a price for everything. I don't know what that price is. But what they really want is SIRC has a lot of the sort of the initial grunt work done in terms of like certifications, what's the word? It escapes me. Like all the like the market contacts, like they've done it before. They have a brand, they're sort of in the market, so they're going to be used basically as the selling tool for the U.S. and maybe North America, Canada. I don't know, something like that, for whatever Tribeca ends up selling, right? And I don't know if it'll be just Tribeca things they'll sell or other things, but we don't really know what Tribeca is going to sell yet, or what their products even are. That's sort of the issue, right? Is we've only really heard about SIRC and AVCO or AVCO, I think is what they call it. We did get a little AVCO talk today. So anyway, I digress. We have an incredibly talented management team in place. Okay. All right, whatever. So there you go. That's the PR. This kind of sums up the YouTube video a bit, but we can go through the YouTube video still. Let me just pop over to the chat here. Yeah, 31st is Halloween. That's a good point. Yeah, Brad's dressed up as like, I don't know. Yeah, you say a clown. I don't know. Dude, people work on Halloween. What do you mean? It's not a federal holiday till Joe Biden does it. I think everyone's going to be working or whatever. IFAS is tonight. Whoops. I'll be done before then. Don't worry. This won't go until 8 p.m. I really hope not. We got another hour. Hour and 10 minutes. There's no way this goes an hour and 10 minutes more. So you guys gotta go after this. Go to Buffalo Fireside Chats. Check out his IFAS live stream. IFAS is they're making cattle feed. You'd think I live in like I don't know if you guys know this. I live in like a really rural area. There's like cows like down the street from me. I know nothing about farming. So I feel like I should understand IFAS more, but I haven't spent the time to like read about the product and what it does, but it sounds really cool. And I don't know, George, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the first time he's gone live with Eric, if I'm not mistaken. Eric is Buffalo Fireside Chats, for those of you that don't know. So yeah, check it out. It's a cool show. I'll try and join if I can. But I also would like to see my wife and not have her divorce me for being on the computer all day. So there's also that. Yeah, learn science. That is not a good subject. You could tell by the companies that I invest in. A lot of them are pretty boring and simple. So yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's anything else. We could jump into the YouTube video. I'm going to try and jump around a bit, but this is basically, it doesn't let you zoom on here, does it? I'm just going to run through, pause and talk about things. And I'll skip over some parts just because I'm guessing a lot of you guys have already seen this. So if there's nothing else, I will get into it.
Hello and welcome to the August edition of SIRC's Investor Update Podcast. My name's Derek Savage. I'll be your host. I'm joined by our I do deals and heavy lifting on the Tribeca Energy Letter of Commitment and has been actively involved in leading the C-suite transition over the past couple of months. Brad, how you doing today?
Sorry, I skipped over Troy. Troy's gone. Can you guys I know I won't say anyone on this chat's doing it, but people need to relax a little bit on the whole Troy thing. We're all people. At the end of the day, he needs to take some time. So don't worry about it. They're working hard. So I skipped over it, but that doesn't mean I don't care. Give the guy some time to get healthy and everything. We're all people, right? So I'll end my interjection now.
On today's investor update, and I want to start off with one of the most exciting things that's happening, which is the Tribeca Energy merger that is planned for the coming months. The first question that I have for you is this SIRC pending merger with Tribeca Energy still on track for the target date of, right now we have October 30th as the target date to have the merger and to also list on NASDAQ?
There have been no changes in the current timeline, and SIRC is working aggressively to prepare for the pending merger with Tribeca Energy. So that date is still firm.
Okay.
All right. Oh, I have my webcam off still. They're still firm on the date. I do love, I like the, I always find it really funny when CEOs and people in the OTC read the things that they clearly prepared beforehand with like a lawyer reviewing it and stuff. I don't know why. I'm sure if I was reading stuff, I'd sound like an idiot, but it's just kind of funny. It reminds me of someone getting like deposed or something like in front of Congress, but it's like these like OTC companies. I don't know. I find the weirdest things funny. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, Troy is the man. I can tell they're working really hard, and he's done a lot of good things for Balance. And it's actually, I mean, like think of all the companies that SIRC bought in the last 2 years, and like how many of them are even still around, or like even, I know they sort of like restructured things a bit, but like so many of them are just completely gone. Like just was a complete waste of money, and they got nothing out of it. It just got the people they purchased them from rich, or not rich, but made them a lot of money. But Balance is still there. They're growing. They're profitable. Like the guy who they purchased it from, or yeah, Troy was Balance, and now he's the COO. He's still working for SIRC. So, again, if he needs a minute, he can take it. I don't think a lot of people would want to be working on SIRC, to be honest, after everything that went down. So, yeah, Andrew, I think, he was basically, I'm sorry, I'm just seeing this in chat now. Yeah, I don't think he was every time, but he was reading off a script a lot. Also, Jordan, I don't know if you're making a joke about, sorry, Dave Massey, but we were talking about Troy. I don't know if that joke is, I'm whooshing right now, but yeah. Anyway, I'll get back to this.
Great. So, as far as we're concerned, October 30th is the date.
Correct.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, one more thing. I don't know if I'm just weird, but do you see this tag on this couch cushion? It was bothering me like the whole time that he didn't put the couch cushion in like the right way. It's supposed to go on the on the other side. Sorry, slow news day. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we will. Oh, you were talking about Dave Massey. I guess, did Dave Massey leave for health reasons? He did say that, right? If I'm not mistaken. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to assume that he was having a health problem, but then people were talking about that he's like already working somewhere else. I don't know. These are all rumors in the Discord. You guys are crazy in the Discord. You guys know 10 times more about like the inner workings and rumors of SIRC than I do. I think he has the CEO had enough time to do anything substantial? Probably not. I mean, he's been at it, 3 months? I think it usually takes a CEO like a good year or two, and they don't have that long. Generally what happens when you have a new CEO is they fire a bunch of people and they get their own people involved. As long as the CEO was an outside person. If it's an internal hire, generally they keep a lot of their, I won't call them cronies, but the people they trust, and they get them in the right roles. But with a new guy, I guess Brad wasn't a new guy, so there probably wasn't too much. He probably knew a lot already. But I know with new CEOs, like brand new, like from a whole new company, it takes a good year. So I will press on.
Next question I have here is kind of related to that. This is for our friends down in Dallas with AVCO. Investors want to know, what is the status of the AVCO acquisition? I know we didn't really talk about it much on our last update, but is AVCO being considered in the merger with Tribeca? Are they going to be part of that whole ordeal? What does that look like?
Other companies that are being considered for the Tribeca Energy merger are proprietary to Tribeca Energy, and they would be announced by the Tribeca Energy senior management leadership at the appropriate time. SIRC has and continues to have interest in working more closely with AVCO, and we would have an interest in having their talented and exceptional team join ours at some time in the future, either through the Tribeca Energy uplist or through a separate acquisition with SIRC.
Okay, great. So that's still on the table, but it's Tribeca's call as far as what happens with that.
Correct.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
Sorry, I almost talked on mute there. I'm like a boomer early on in COVID. So one thing that was interesting there, and I didn't actually think of this. I thought the AVCO deal was just dead in the water once Dave left. But with the Tribeca merger, one thing I didn't think of, that was going to be 100% a share exchange. There's no way that SIRC is paying cash or someone would lend them the money to buy that company right now. And they're not allowed to issue shares without Tribeca's consent. I think the exact words were they cannot change the capital structure of the company, which I would think means issuing more shares, which is the capital structure. So the fact that Tribeca basically is deciding whether or not they get AVCO makes complete sense to me. SIRC is just a regional brand, right? It's in the Southwest for the most part, I think. At least you hear about it a lot. I know they tried to expand other places, but it seems like the core of it's really in the Southwest. And I thought the whole point of AVCO was that it was more in like Texas and like the actual like South. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat on that. It's been a while. I kind of wrote off AVCO the second I saw it because I was so angry that they were talking about acquiring companies at the time. But I wouldn't be surprised if AVCO does get looped in with Tribeca, but who knows, right?
Well, we all like the team at AVCO, so let's hope. In some online forums and to investor relations teams.
All you people yelling at them, sending them all these tweets and stuff. Oh man, that investor relations team is have thick skin.
Or to our investor relation team at SIRC, that the number of authorized shares increased from what was 1.5 billion to 3 billion. And that's kind of a large increase. So investors are wanting to know, are there any specific plans for the use of the increased number of shares? And is there anything about that you can disclose to investors?
Sure. First off, there's a misconception by some shareholders that authorized shares end up immediately in the market. One area that we needed more authorized shares for was our reserve accounts for convertible debt holders. SIRC does not sell shares in the open market and receive those funds for operations. When shares are traded on the market, it is between buyers and sellers and has no operating income benefit to SIRC. Once shares are issued, SIRC has no control over who or when they are sold or bought. There are SEC-regulated holds placed on issued shares. We do use a third-party company to facilitate selling shares held in reserve to pay off debt through a court-approved process. But as far as the 1.5 billion shares that were issued, other than being held in reserve, that is currently the only use we have for them at this point.
Okay, so just because there's a large amount of authorized shares doesn't mean that they're out there and you guys are putting them on the market.
Correct. Authorized is much different than issued.
Great. Awesome. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, that was a big script reader right there. All right, authorized share count increase. This was the question before. Let's talk about that. So one of the big reasons that you need a higher authorized share count is that, at least for them, well, first off, they're clearly going to be converting a lot of debt into shares going forward. They've always talked about that. I think they're trying to get their debt a little more friendly and being maybe a little more selective, and then they'll maybe convert a bit more. But one of the problems is if you don't have enough and I'm going to simplify this a lot because I'm not. It's kind of on a case by case basis depending on like what your convertible note is like. But if you have, so say you have like 1 million authorized shares and you have like 900,000 outstanding, but you issue a convertible note for like, and it could potentially convert into like another 1 million shares, right? If you don't have enough authorized shares, the person who has the convertible note and could not actually convert it mathematically or just legally, and technically the company would be like in, there's a legal term for it and it's slipping my mind right now. I knew it before this, before I did this. Now I can't think of it, but it's almost like they're in default, or they're like, it's like, they're in like a breach of the contract. So what's probably happening is they're making sure that just in case they're able to, they could convert them if they wanted to. If there are any eyeless shareholders on here, have a look at, I can't remember what series it is. They have like 10 million preferred share series, but Nick Link has so many convertible preferred shares technically that he can convert into that the company doesn't actually have enough authorized shares to do it. And there's a whole section in their, I think it's their last 10K. They talk about it. And I don't want to bring it up now, but that's sort of why the authorized share count is going up. I'm not nervous about it necessarily because I've already factored in that they're going to have a ton of dilution. But the name of the game from now is like, what are the terms on the dilution, and like what's like the effective price per share that they'll get. That's the real key thing now. When you have a company like this, you have to expect they're going to dilute because there's no way they can make all their debt payments, right, without it, unless like something crazy happens. But so think of it that way. That's how I think about the authorized share count. I'm not too concerned. So.
So yeah, somewhat related to that, and kind of down the financial path here. I know that you and the executive team at SIRC have been working very, very hard in the past couple of months on creating a situation where SIRC is cash flow positive, where you're not, relying on, investment in order to do the things that you want to do. What does that look like right now? Is SIRC right now cash flow positive? And if SIRC's not cash flow positive, when do you expect that to happen?
We're very close to being cash flow positive. We are continuing to resolve previously secured debt, and we are working aggressively to reduce our costs and improve our cash flow position. Nothing happens as fast as you want it to, but both areas are one of our primary focuses every single day, and we continue to improve our cash flow position. We're driving top line growth focused on generating operating profit.
Great. So it's something that it sounds like it's one of those things where it's a matter of time, right?
Yeah, and I would say it's going to be it's a short-term we'll have a short-term solution. We should be cash flow positive, I believe, very quickly. I don't think this is something that's going to take a whole lot longer to get to.
Okay, I'm not going to hold you to a date. So
Yeah, so this was probably the other key point. We already saw from the PR. They're not now. This is why I say always read between the lines of these things, right? These are very carefully worded reports. So like as we approach being cash flow positive, so they're close, right? You could tell from the last quarterly filing that they were getting there. That it was really just debt service that was making them not cash flow positive for the most part. So this is good to hear, right? That they're close. Because once they're cash flow positive, they can start actually deleveraging a little bit, using actual cash from the business, which is what you want to do. So this was big for me. I don't know if we'll get the Q3 report before the merger. I still think the merger is not going to happen by October 30th. Just this is complete conjecture, right? This isn't like me having some inside scoop. I still think these things get delayed like all the time. Like you'd be hard pressed to find an OTC company uplisting exactly when they said they would originally. Like these things take forever, right? So, we'll see. But we may not even get the Q3 report before the merger, because it would come out in mid-November, which if it actually happens by October 30th, we wouldn't actually see Q3 before the merger. But I guess we would have to see Tribeca's report. If they were actually public, they would have already presented financials, and they would have to do a Q probably. So maybe we would, but it would be after the merger anyway. So anyway, there you go. Good stuff.
As far as the C-suite in general, and I know you guys are working very hard on
this is a good one.
The cash flow issue, and making sure, even with things like doing these investor updates, making sure investors are in the know about what's going on with SIRC, and that they are assured that you guys are doing the right things. As part of that, is the C-suite going to start, or have you started buying common stock, common shares of SIRC? Is that something that you guys are doing, willing to do, thinking about doing? What's the investment from the executive team looking like, or what are your intentions with that?
The current C-suite is neither buying nor selling shares. There are shares issued as part of overall compensation and performance plans, but there are no current plans for the C-suite to trade SIRC shares in any form or fashion. We have a vested interest in ensuring that there are long-term growth plans for all shareholders based on shares issued via compensation and incentive plans, and we also have a fiduciary responsibility to all of our shareholders. Further, for me personally, being CEO of SIRC is a job, not a personal investment decision. As with the majority of public companies, executive compensation includes shares so that executives have a vested interest in the performance of those shares also. But I am not personally, nor is the other members of the C-suite, buying or selling SIRC shares.
Gotcha.
That was a very good answer. This is a little weird on the OTC, because normally when you see a CEO, they're almost always the founder or one of the founders, or like someone who took over a ticker through reverse merger or something. So they always own like a ton of equity. Usually they have control either in voting or actual common, or both. That is not the case with any of these people, right? And I'm going to be, I don't know if people are actually even critical of this, but I was not critical of him saying this at all. This is very common with I'll call them hired gun CEOs in the real world. Like I work for a public company, and my CEO does not like go in the open market and buy shares. He gets compensated in shares to give him some incentive, right, for the company to do well. But he's not like putting his whole paycheck in the company or something. I mean, I'm sure if like the share price was like obnoxiously low or something, maybe he would, but I don't blame people who are hired employee. Like, he's basically an employee of the company. Like, he has voting control, sort of, him, Troy, and Wanda, but he's not like he doesn't have like founder's equity or something. So I don't think you guys can really blame him for this. I'm not sure anyone actually was, but if you were, this is not your this is not a bone to pick, in my opinion.
So there was a recent PR that came out, and it mentioned more financing options, but it didn't go into detail about anything. Investors are curious, what kind of financing options are you talking about? Are there any details you can give us on what more financing options means?
A variety of financing opportunities we're looking at are still being negotiated. We are continuing to seek better terms on all of our debt instruments, but financing in general is not a topic I would normally discuss publicly. Too many opportunities have been announced by previous management that never materialized, so I don't believe it's in SIRC or our shareholders or the executive suite's best interest to be announcing proposed lending opportunities.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, when those, I guess when something happens and when there is news to report in regards to that, maybe there will be a different answer.
Obviously, when you go through our quarterly financial reports, you can tell.
You could tell they edited something there. I don't know. Maybe these are just things I pay attention. They edited out something somebody said right there.
where and what we're borrowing. And I think that's probably the appropriate place to find that information.
Okay, great. So this is a little bit of
Okay, so this was like, I thought this was really funny because I feel like this is just, again, because I find really weird things funny. I like it whenever they take like pot shots at Dave Massey. I think they do it a couple more times in this, but this was like, if you guys didn't understand, this is like definitely them making fun of Dave Massey a little, not making fun of him, but just kind of subtly being critical of him. He announced, I mean, Arbiter is the obvious one, but he announced so many times that there was funding coming to the company. I don't even know if they were PR'd, but he mentioned it in like 25 million term note, 10 million revolving facility with top 4 national bank. I don't know if any of these even happened, right? The 25 million note definitely did not. The 10 million, that they said it was like the PR was not right, then it was actually like Brett Rosen. So I'm not going to mention this one, but I don't. If they've gotten a 25 million note that I missed, someone please tell me. And I think they've talked about it before in like on videos and stuff. So, I wholeheartedly agree with what he said there. Until it's signed and done, you should not be PRing diddly squat. So, also hit the chat, anyone. I'm happy to answer any questions as I go through this. Don't be shy. I don't mind going on a little tangent here. So, it's only like 10 more minutes left in the video, so I will keep going.
a heated question here, and I'm just going to read this word for.
Oh.
Okay, great.
This is a good one.
So this is a little bit of a heated question here, and I'm just going to read this word for word from. I'm not sure what channel this came from, but our investor relations.
This definitely came from Discord. 100% from Discord. Unless someone like DM them something and wants to let me know. This sounds like a Discord question.
Team gave this to us, but the question is: do you realize that when RB accrued interest into millions of shares below the market, he simply dumps those on shareholders, collects the money, keeps part of it, and loans the rest to you, continuing the destruction of SIRC? Now, it goes on to say, if you have to sell shares, why are you not using an ATM offering, even if discounted 10%, would be far better than giving shares away at incredibly toxic rates? Once again, this isn't my question, but this came through the channels.
No, sure. It's a valid question.
I'd really like to believe that the marketing guy is like really like a SIRC hater, like riling people up in the Discord. Like, this wasn't my question, but it like really was, or something like that. Sorry, I digress.
Once again, this isn't my question, but this came through the channels.
No, sure. It's a valid question. We value our relationship with all current shareholders and convertible note holders. Again, there's a lot of misconceptions about who and when shares are sold and under what conditions that SIRC has no control or visibility to. We're currently reviewing different strategies on share processes, which could provide a buying opportunity for all current shareholders in the near future, but we have nothing firm to announce at this point.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to talk about this too much. The question is basically, if you didn't get the mathematics behind it or sort of what they were saying, RB Capital has converted shares in the past. I mean, we can actually see them, right? They have to disclose all of them, and fairly recently. And what the person is saying or alleging, what Brett Rosen does, that's RB Capital. If you don't realize that by now, you've been living under a rock. But he has converted shares before. This is a typo, by the way. It's not .001, it's .01. But he's converted shares, and the insinuation is that what he does is he gets them at a discount. So, like, say he gets them at like a 30% discount to market. This is all hypothetical. Sells them, dumps them on the market. Maybe takes a little bit of a hit just driving down the bid. And then he takes whatever money he makes, lends it back to the company, and then the same thing happens again in 6 months or whatever. I I can't confirm that he's actually done that. He specifically told me that he's never sold an SIRC share before. But that was a while ago, I think, and I'm pretty sure he told me it was SIRC. So I don't know if what that person's saying is totally true. I can't confirm or deny, I guess. But what I will say, and I've brought this up before, is that whether you like him or not, I think SIRC is only in business right now still because of Brett Rosen and some of the lifeline debt he's given them that's allowed them to refinance out of like their loan shark stuff. Like, I don't agree with everything the guy says, and I don't like all the companies he invests in, but at least for SIRC, I know people get annoyed with him and they sort of see him as like the bad guy. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not sure they could have found someone else who would lend to them like he does or he has. So take that as you will.
Plumco. I love talking about Plumco. They're one of my favorite brands of SIRC. Can we get an update on the current Plumco GSA contract for EV? Are we getting any contracts with the federal government yet? What's going on with Plumco and the GSA contract?
Plumco continues to secure new business with the government customer base we do business with at the federal, state, county, and city levels. The Plumco team remains very busy in design, development, contract negotiation, and construction on a variety of projects. We currently have two projects that we're in the middle of. One is for the UCLA Medical Center in Sylmar, Olive View. We're installing, I think, 33 level 2 chargers there. We also have a second project going on at Richard Donovan Correctional Facility, installing a dozen level 2 chargers there, which is the third California prison system that we have done in the past 12 months. We have a whole bunch of bids out. We have a whole bunch of design work out. And I think you'll continue to see a pretty steady stream as we go forward.
Nice. So good to hear that Plumco is taking advantage of, or not taking advantage of, but being involved in a lot of the projects that, all these government entities are putting out there for bid.
The reality is, as far as EV charger installation goes, there can't be enough companies involved in it. The need is so much greater than the capability at this point. We are going to have a very difficult time getting everything installed that we need to support the transition from ICE vehicles to EV vehicles within even a 2035 timeline. I mean, just in LA County alone, they're looking at a need of about 1.2 million public charging stations to be installed, within the next 10 years. So I think that Plumco will continue to have a significant role in helping make sure that LA County and other parts of California with their Department of Governmental Services and the federal government as we move forward as a country into that.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Cool. Well, good to hear that Plumco's a part of the solution for that. Another thing.
I talked about this before. I mean, it's good that they're in the business and that they can get government contracts and things like that. When there's this big of a rush of demand for something that's not a commodity good, but a pretty like basic service, like installing an EV charger. Like, this isn't like Ozempic, right? This is some more basic stuff. I think there's going to be a lot more competition and a lot more providers coming into the fold eventually. Like, this isn't like some surefire slam dunk way for them to make like a shitload of money, I think. But if they do a really good job, they could, but it's not going to be as easy as maybe some people think, I think. So
that has come up, repeatedly with the investor relations team is the Arbiter Investment. Is there anything that you can tell us about? And I know we touched on this last time we spoke in the last investor update. Is there anything you can tell us about the status of the Arbiter Investment and what that might look like?
We continue to get the same response from the new people managing Arbiter Capital, and that response is they are awaiting the results of an audit prior to continuing to move forward. We have sought advice of counsel on the situation. Currently, the cost to litigate, the time it takes to litigate, and the likelihood of there being anything to recover make pursuing this investment through the legal process cost prohibitive. We have defined what the cost and timeline would be. As our cash flow improves, we will continue to review our options, but currently investing the cash into construction projects has a much quicker and more reliable return than trying to litigate with the Arbiter Capital folks to get our investment returned to us.
Gotcha. So just basically nothing new about that. It's just kind of where it was, previously. And if you are going to spend money on doing anything, it's making these projects happen.
That is correct.
Gotcha. Can't disagree with that. So
I loved this response, by the way. I mean, you can go back in my blog days. I got a lot of flack for this at the time, but I was very critical of them, especially like into 2023. Like when they're like, I think it was the April shareholder update when they did it from AVCO, and we hadn't really heard much about Arbiter for a while, and it was sort of like everyone was like, this thing's dead, right? And then he brought it up like one last time and was like, oh yeah, I was talking to them. Dave Massey brought it up again and was like, oh yeah, documents are coming through and I know people don't like it, but I think we're close. And I was like, I don't think I've gotten more angry at a OTC CEO saying something like before ever. Like that was like so bad when he brought that up. And when Brad took over and like the first two of these updates he's done, then the first one he was like, Arbiter was a bad idea and we should have never done it. And then this one he says, litigating is not worth the expense because there's he says the likelihood of it being recoverable is low or something like that. I think he just said, you can repeat it, but I'll paraphrase what I think he means, and this is me thinking. There is no money. The money is spent and gone. That's what I think. I don't know. Because if there was really money for them to get, I think they would litigate, right? And the fact that they won't litigate, because if they win and there's actually money to be had, they could probably get their legal fees paid for. I mean, it might take a while, but it seems like I'm not a lawyer, but it's a pretty cut and dry, like we loaned you money, you did not pay us back type thing. This isn't like a complicated situation of like some of the other OTC ones are like, didn't meet the terms of an acquisition or like misrepresenting your business or, something like that. This is very different. So what this tells me, again, I'm just conjecture here. Maybe they are going through an audit. I don't know. The 4.2 million, there is not that to be had from anyone or from Arbiter or whatever. And they need to just stop thinking about it, wasting time on it, and just move on. And that sounds like that's what they've done from the second they took over in May. So I was like going like this when he said that in this one and the last update. So thank you again for not doing these stupid pie in the sky things. So Andrew, funding and uplift were his favorite words, and neither have happened. Thank you for joining, Fu Yang. Thank you for joining. Not thank you for the live chat. And he did love the word arbiter. All right, let's move on.
So, as far as one thing that's come up a few times, and this is a fairly new one. What is it that SIRC is doing about the issue with short sellers, and what can you tell me about the issue that keeps coming up with short sellers? And I keep hearing about this.
Our contracted partners complete.
This section made me. I was just so happy with them, and then they said this part. You guys know how I feel about this.
Completed their 90-day tracking and investigation of the issue with short sellers. Letters will be going out to the offenders and the SEC within the coming couple of weeks. We're hopeful that the SEC will take action against this illegal activity once it is fully reported.
Gotcha. So we're taking action is what it sounds like.
That is absolutely correct.
Good deal. And I know every investor wants to know.
I know you guys, I've talked about illegal short selling a bit, and I actually think of all the places where it causes the most price impact. I won't say damage. I think the place where it causes the most short, I mean, very carefully here with how I say this, short-term temporary price impact is in the OTC because it's so illiquid. I think illegal short selling can be a temporary issue for a company, but for a proper long-term company that is well managed and has actual real potential, illegal short selling is not an issue really that much. Why do I say that? The reason I always say, like, if you've watched my Mullen videos, I get really angry with them when they talk about how they're like taking it to the shorts and all this stuff. If your stock is super liquid, like theirs is, I'm talking about Mullen, and you're on like NASDAQ, and I think they're on NASDAQ, and you're so liquid, you know, hundreds of millions of shares trade every day, and you're like, oh, the shorts are beating down the bids and, you know, things like that. Like, you're telling me that like institutional money is not going to just come and get their free discounted shares, right? Like it's not mathematically, or like doesn't really do anything when you're that liquid. But on the OTC, I will say it is damaging because sometimes there isn't sufficient bid at any given time just because of how the nature of the market works. There's less money involved every single day. So what can happen is if they need to raise cash or convert debt or something, and there is a temporary manipulation of the bid, it can damage the company in that sense, but it's temporary, right? Again, if it was like a quality company and I was just a random shareholder, it would suck that they maybe had to convert at a lower price than maybe was a fair value, but then nothing is stopping you from just buying really, really cheap shares if it's clearly not that good, or if it's clearly that making it that undervalued by illegal short selling. So I think in SIRC's case, I would rather them not waste time with this kind of stuff because it's kind of a gray area, and I'm not a lawyer, but I sort of have a feeling that this is going to be very hard to prove and prosecute and get anything out of it. And maybe they're using like some kind of like ambulance chaser lawyer that's like, you don't pay till you get paid type thing. But this was something they started with Dave Massey, and my guess is they already paid them for it. Maybe, I don't know. So that's what makes me a little hesitant on this, because I feel like they could be placing their resources elsewhere. But honestly, I think Brad's done a pretty good job, so I'll trust him on this. I think this is one of the few cases where illegal short selling could be damaging to the company, but whether they can even get anything out of it, I don't know. So anyway, that's my aside on short selling.
About this, and now just as a caveat, we are filming this on Thursday, August 17th, and this is going to be out probably by the time or after this happens. But when will the QT fight? All right, so it sounds like that's everything that we have as far as the SIRC investor update and the questions that our investor relations team have given, as far as the common stuff that's coming up. Is there anything coming up that you're specifically excited about? And I always love to end on a positive note. Is there anything that you can share that you're excited about and that you look forward to in the coming months with SIRC?
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely on the right track. I wish everything would move faster, but it's just takes time. I mean, it takes time to get the debt settled or refinanced. It takes time to get, the head count where it needs to be. Takes time to renegotiate leases and, reduce our footprint, reduce our costs there. We also are working with a variety of new suppliers to improve our material costs. We have multiple divisions operating in, different areas and in different fields. So I wish things went faster than they actually do, but the reality is we are headed in the right direction. We have very competent people in our C-suite that are moving everything forward the way it should be now. And I believe that the
Subtle jab at Dave Massey was that number 3 now. Sorry, I had to interject because they definitely bring it up a decent amount, and I think they should. So
the future is very bright. Are we out of the woods? Not really. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do, and we still have, very few people to do it with. But we're headed in the right direction, and I feel very confident that as we move forward, every day gets better, every week gets better, and every month improves.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for joining me today, Brad. It's always a pleasure speaking with you and learning a little bit more about what SIRC has going on and what to look forward to in the future. And I'm sure we'll be speaking around this time next month about all the new things that have happened. So looking forward to that as well.
Thank you very much for hosting this, Derek. And we value our relationship with Savage Media. You guys do a great job.
All right, I'll stop there. He just talks up Savage Media. They do a good job with these, though, I will say. It's too bad Brad doesn't come in person. I think Savage is in Indianapolis. Don't quote me on that. I think they are. They're saving money on flights, right? There and back for Mr. Reinhardt and a hotel. So that's the video. I don't know if you guys have anything else in the chat. Pop it in now and I can talk about it, but I'll wrap up. Closing thoughts here. Good update, good PR. The short selling thing, it was not my favorite, but if that's the only negative I get out of a SIRC update, that's a good sign. I remember I looked at some of my old notes from some past ones with Dave Massey, and it was not pretty. A lot of all caps and like me going like this and stuff like that. So high points. Plumco's chugging along. Balance looks good. Revenue's down, but he's talking about growing revenue. So, I mean, we'll see. They're getting close to cash flow positive. It sounds like they're almost there. That'll be very helpful for the business. I don't know. It's kind of hard to talk about them too much sometimes because, and I know we've been on here for like over an hour, but whenever they bring things up that they are doing or working on or trying to improve, it's like telling someone when they're hungry to go eat. Like it's just so straightforward, and they're not like, they don't have all these like crazy like pie in the sky like, the big thing that I hated about SIRC before is it was always like, if this happens, then woo, like, if Arbiter hits, or like once Callaway starts, or once this big thing happens that should happen, any day now, any next week, soon, whatever, insert forward-looking statement here, like things are going to go crazy. And I think they're very honest. They're very grounded, which is nice and refreshing, and it makes my my blood pressure stay a little lower when I read their filings and listen to them talk. So it's good. If you guys don't have anything else, I will probably just go end the stream. You can jump on over to Buffalo Fireside Chats. He's getting started in about 20 minutes. So you can go get some food or something. Hit the subscribe button if you have not yet. That is actually a live look at my subscriber count. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you've been listening this long, that's very weird of you. But if you subscribe, you'll see the number go up pretty quickly. I know there's a delay on chat, so maybe you won't. But that's all. Watch BFC tonight. Good man, Jord. That's it. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.